What is good, Bronco Maniacs? It's your boy, the OG Bronknut 719 West. And I want to just update some Broncos news for those of you that might not be following what's going on. And of course, you know we hired a brand new coach in Denver. And real excited about Vic Fangio. The more I read about him, the more I like. And I think it's a smart move for the Broncos because if you look, the two best teams in the AFC West are offensive juggernauts, really, especially the Chiefs. And the only way you can really combat something like that is either to match them on offense, which we cannot do, or play great defense in Denver and try to slow them down and score some points. And so I think the Broncos, you know, we've seen before that the best way to win championships is with defense. So I think that's the route we're going. But it looked like it was going to be Kubiak who was going to be our offensive coordinator, and that's definitely not going to happen. Kubiak wanted to bring back a couple of ex-coaches. I think one of them was Rick Dennison, and the Broncos organization wasn't okay with it. And really, the more and more I think about it, I'm okay with it because I think we just need some fresh blood, a change here in the Mile High City and here in Denver. And I think the game, you know, it's just evolving. It always is evolving. And I think, you know, we maybe need a more younger, progressive coach with some new, fresh ideas, some new creative ways of play calling and scheming against other teams. And, you know, you got to deal with the running quarterbacks a whole lot more than you've had to in the past. So I think that the move to maybe stay away from Kubiak was a smart one. So let's look at who could be the offensive coordinators in Denver. The first one being DeFilippo, who is the offensive coordinator for the Vikings. Now, the Vikings had kind of a miserable season. They didn't, you know, they kind of fell short of expectations. And I heard through the grapevine that DeFilippo and the head coach, I can't remember who it is. I can picture it in my head who he is, but I can't remember his name. Anyway, those two, I guess, had some disagreements on scheme and play calling. But through all of that, Cousins didn't really have a bad year. So this guy's got a little bit of play calling experience in the NFL, and I think that goes a long way. Plus, he was on the short list to actually be the head coach of the Broncos and probably a lot of other NFL teams. So I think that, you know, look for DeFilippo to be pretty high up on Elway's list. The second one, and the one thing that I like about this is that all the offensive coordinators that Fangio's trying to hire, they're all Italians, right? They're all paisans. So we're going gangster here in Denver, and I kind of like that. But the second one is Serini, who is the offensive coordinator in Indianapolis. So you got to like the numbers that Andrew Luck put up this year. I mean, I think certainly Patrick Mahomes is the MVP of the NFL, but you can make a case that Andrew Luck has to be included definitely in that conversation. Put up sick numbers, got his team into the playoffs, especially coming off, you know, the injury part of his career that he's had. So got to give some credit to that. And, you know, look, anytime you win in the NFL, people are going to be looking at your coaching staff. Next one, I never really heard of this guy. Forget his first name. His last name, just because it's a great name to say, is Sangarello, right? Sangarello is the quarterback's coach for the 49ers. Now, the reason I like this guy is if you look at Garoppolo got hurt, their backup quarterback got hurt, and then they had to bring in that Nick Mullins, who I thought did a hell of a job. And through all of that, with creative play calling, 49ers had a formidable team, especially late there in the season. Put a whooping on the Denver Broncos, and sometimes a guy just needs an opportunity, and this is definitely a young, progressive coach that's had to make it work with, you know, some quarterbacks that maybe not the most desirable quarterbacks to have starting on Sunday. Given all of that, you know, he doesn't have any experience in the NFL as a play caller, but sometimes a guy needs an opportunity. But I'm just real nervous about hiring a rookie play caller to come in the NFL and be able to do that on game day, but he's certainly on the short list. And then the last guy, I believe, is the offensive coordinator, ex-offensive coordinator for the Seahawks. I can't remember his last name, or his name, like Darren Bevel or Bevis or something like that. I think it's Bevel. Anyway, he's got a lot of experience. And you look at the quarterbacks that he's worked with, Russell Wilson, helping the Seahawks did a great job, you know, in the draft and really discovered Russell Wilson and took a chance on a smaller quarterback, and we've seen what he's turned out to be. So all in all, I kind of like the position that Denver's in and the candidates that we have available to choose for an offensive coordinator. It's going to be a whole new coordinating, a whole new offensive staff, defensive coordinator. Certainly, I expect our defense to improve. And if, like I said in the past, it all comes down to how we draft. If we put a couple, 2-3 drafts back-to-back together, the Broncos can be right back in the mix. This isn't a terrible team with no talent. This team does have a little talent. There's rumors out there the Broncos are trading for Antonio Brown. I really don't see that happening, but I guess anything's possible. I think that we would probably have to give up an enormous amount for him. And would be nice to have a receiver of his talent, but I don't really like a guy that just kind of walked away from his team when the team needed him the most. This is the OG Broncos 719 West. The Broncos still looking for an offensive coordinator, but the list is getting narrowed. It's down to 4 or 5 people, and we should have a decision and a coaching staff put into place here very shortly. I'm out. See you next time.